Hey there everyone, and welcome to another skill rune showcase. In this one I'm going to be going through the new nature charge skill runes. There are actually 4 skill runes which came out in this. It's becoming increasingly difficult to make a short video, like a video as short as I'd like, while including all of the skill runes that have come out, because they keep releasing loads at once. So I'm actually going to make this 2 videos. This video is going to be on the nature charge skill runes, and then tomorrow I'm going to bring out a video on the primal skill runes, which are the other ones that are out. So in this I'm going to go through them, and as you can see there's the lovely animation of the nature charges going on. I really do like the way this looks. One other thing I'm going to show first as well is how to get them, as I have some time to properly say it. So they're in the current festival. You've got challenge as well, which if you do the Xenoden map 5 times, that's where you get one of the primal skill runes. The other one is for completing the tier 2, I think. Anyway, basically this festival you got the harsh entry requirements, but you get some nice jewels as you do it. Then you unlock some tournaments and doing the gold maps. This is where you get the charge skill runes. It's for completing the tier 1 bits. So it's 100 tournaments after you finish the entry, and doing the gold map 150 times, I think. So you get one from there, and then one of them from doing the other one, if you can find it. Yep, there we go. I think you get the 4th skill rune from completing, that's the tier 2, so the tournament maps beyond there. So after doing those 2 achievements, you unlock another set of achievements. It's another 100 tournaments, and then you unlock the 2nd primal skill rune. So that's how to get them. Now to talk about them specifically. Forest Burst. This one is a new skill rune for Burst, and in terms of damage, it's in line with the others, but Icicle Splash still stands out because it's got that damage over time, 3 hits of 11,000, which just really makes it do so much more overall. It doesn't do base damage as well, but it still stands out. So Forest Burst is more in line with the others. Doesn't have much static damage, but that 122% nature is very nice. It means it's more damaging than Expel. Well, actually, roughly the same. Empowered Fire Burst, you can see there, it's like roughly the same again. I mean, probably a little bit less because of the lower static damage, but it's kind of in line with the others. It's the first nature one, so it fills that gap. The stun as well, 2 seconds rather than 3 from Icicle Splash, so it's not really it's not standout stun skill. And also the area of effect of it is the smaller. It's the same size as the base skill, so you can see it's not hitting this guy there. And if I switch to Empowered Fire Burst, that's the same thing, the same range. Again, it hits the one on the left, not the one on the bottom. And now if I switch to say Icicle Splash, Burst of Light, and its spell all have a larger range, and that will hit those 2 there. It doesn't quite hit that chicken there, but as you can see, quite a bit larger. So that's it for damage, and for the stun and the area of effect. Like, you wouldn't really use this for any reason other than to do the charges. So now we can look over at the Forest Bolts. So this is the one which actually uses the charges, and it basically gains extra effects the more charges you have, but consumes them all when you use the skill. So compared to the others for damage, it stands out quite nicely. All these new charge skill runes don't have much static damage, which is actually great for mana bolts because most of the skill runes on it don't actually have have much static damage on them anyway. So it's just got the high % damage, and yeah, stands out. So compared to Avalanche, it's kind of very nice. Compared to Flame Cannon does have a lot of static damage, kind of stands out there, but it's the extra effects where Forest Bolts does really come into its own. So Mana Bolts normally just hits 5 times, and it will split over other enemies that are there. Avalanche will hit all the enemies that are there, which makes it a brilliant PvE skill rune. Forest Bolts, I would say, is more PvP, just because you can put so much damage into one hit. So if you have 1 charge on when you first use it, then it'll do 6 hits instead of 5. 2 charges will do 7 hits, and 3 charges means it will do 8 hits, and each hit will have extra static damage. So on the other ones, you'll see it's like sort of 10,000 more, 15,000 more. On this one, it's 5,000 more, but per hit, and because they're 8 hits, it's actually adding 40,000 more static damage on. And there's so much boost from that 3rd charge that you really want to make sure you get the 3 charges on before you use this skill. Additionally, it also slows all enemies that it hits by 50%. So yeah, it's pretty epic. A lot of damage. I mean, 8 hits instead of 5 means it's going to be doing 60% more anyway. and then you've got the extra static damage on there too. So yeah, this is a hugely powerful skill, and it's actually the best one there compared to the Skuruns, the other charged Skuruns on the other classes. However, there is the definite negative of Forest Burst has the longer cooldown to charge. So to use this 3 times, it's going to be like 18 seconds or something like that towards that. Whereas like the archers have it on a 1 second cooldown skill, and knights it's a 2 second cooldown skill. So it takes a lot longer to charge up, but it's epic when you do. The one positive though is that Forest Burst can be used without a target. So if you were using this PvP, I'd recommend you just use Forest Burst. Forest Burst, you use it whenever you can, as frequently as possible, and then that will charge up your Forest Bolts. So let's see it in some combat. Now I realise I'm not properly geared, so I'm not going to do loads of damage, but I'm invincible, so it's going to work like that. So the Forest Burst itself, as you can see, small hit, and the damage you can't really tell right now, but it's alright. And if you have a cooldown pot, I mean, you can use it quite frequently. It's never been a particularly viable skill for PvE anyway, but it's fairly nice. So after you've got the charges up, then you can use the Forest Bolts. I'm going to show them here to give you an idea of what the slow is like. So I hit those enemies there. You can see it goes for 5 seconds. They're 50% slowed, and then now they're back up to speed. Not really a lot I can show with this, especially because any kind of damage is just basically depends on your character. So I could show it being really powerful, but then what does that really show? The numbers speak for themselves. Forest Bolts is incredibly powerful, and they do crit. If anyone wants to know, they do crit properly. So the damage is there. So I'm going to move on to the Archer Skuruns now. On Archer, these charged Skuruns we have are the Forest Spread Shot, and then click the wrong thing. The Forest Bomb. So the Forest Spread Shot is the one that adds the charges. If you've just seen the wizard bit, I won't be explaining it again how the charges work. So go watch that bit if you're unsure. So this has a 1 second cooldown, which is lovely for getting the charges on very quickly. However, it's not the particularly viable skill for anything other than farming, which you don't need this for. So although actually there's a slight use there, but yeah, not particularly viable skill, so you'd only really use it for the charging. It does the damage compared to the others. It kind of, it fits in line with them. But like I said, it's not really a viable skill, so you wouldn't use it for much. Yeah, the knockback on it though, I do really like the knockback on this. Especially you can use it so frequently. You can just keep spamming it, and the enemies get knocked back while you add the charges on, and then you can blow them up, as you'll see. So I won't really compare it to the other Skuruns, but the damage is kind of alright. It's, it will do something while you're adding the charges on, and the knockback is definitely helpful. So each one adds 1 charge on, as I'll show you now. It actually does it even if you do a 360 spread shot. So, okay, I've got to actually pull off the 360 spread shot. So, I'll do that now. Yeah, that should have been one. I can't show you. Wait, hold on. I'll do it up here. Ah, see, it works off camera, but I swear the timing changes when I start recording. I think the timing changes, makes it a bit harder to pull off. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pull it off. Anyway, it works with a 360 spread shot. Just take me on my word. So Forest Bomb here, this is the one which actually consumes the charges, and as it looks compared to the others for damage, it already stands out as fairly good. Infinite Combustion was the most recent one, which just is quite nice. But what really makes this cool is that Concussive Arrow, the Skuruns, they've kind of done a mix of single target and area of effect. Dark Arrow was a really cool one because when it hits an enemy, it does the 123% to a single target. However, it also then hits a load of targets around there, doing 15,000 to them and stunning them all. And the main use of it is it stuns them all. It just does not much damage to most of them and just, only hits that single target with a lot. Infinite Combustion, you'll hit a target and you'll just stun that individual target, and then that target will explode and do quite a lot of fire damage over time to any enemies around. This new one, you turn it into an area of effect skill with the charges. So use it without any charges on it, and it's just a single target hitting skill. stuns the enemy it hits, and does that nice amount of damage. It'll be less than Infinite Combustion, but it's a fairly nice amount. Then, as you add the charges on, it becomes a bigger and bigger area of effect skill. Put the 3 charges on, and it becomes a huge area of effect skill, as well as slowing them all and doing lots of damage to them all. It adds the extra static damage on. I say lots. It's not tons, but it's it's a fairly good amount. And considering it stuns them all as well and slows them, I don't know why you'd need stun and slow really. I guess that's just a PvP thing. But anyway, so I'll show it now. So this is actually quite good to show. You'll see this one without any charges. It's a single target. The chicken sort of flies off. It looks quite funny. Yeah, we'll do it on this one too. Sort of glows green. Anyway, so then if I use this now, I get 1 charge on me, and then I hit them with this one. You can see there's a little area of effect there. It's really nice that it does display properly. There's so many things in King's Road which they don't quite display accurately with the area of effect and stuff, but this one does. So here you'll see it's a bigger area of effect, and unfortunately not quite enough to hit the other ones, but you'll see the 3rd charge is where it really adds a lot, as with the Knight skill too. So I'm going to hit the one, actually no, I'm going to hit this one, and you'll see it should hit that chicken over there. So attack this now, bang, huge explosion, and so it hit all of those with that full damage, as well as the stun and the slow. So yeah, it should be pretty good PvE scoring. That's the hope. So I'll show you in some combat now. Now the reason why I say PvE is I feel like a lot of archers won't want to use this in PvP, for the reason that you've got to use spread shot to add the charges. Ooh, we're getting super lag here. Okay. Oh, it seems fine now. Okay, so for the reason that you've got to use spread shot to add the charges, but I'll show you now. Actually, yeah, sorry, I'll show you without the decoys. I'll just let them kill that. I'll show you why I don't mind the having to use it in PvE, because as you can see, you can actually knock them back quite nicely with the spread shot before then hitting them with this. And while they're stunned, obviously you can just use it more, and then stun them again when they come out of it. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure because I haven't tested this out loads, but it might be a really good way of controlling enemies in PvE. You've already got decoy and loads of other tools, but crowd control is something which archers do struggle with a bit, and the fact that this can you can knock back those enemies and then just stun them all. As well as, they're slowed. If they're immune to stun, then they're going to be slowed as well. And not many things are immune to slow. So yeah, these 2 skills should be pretty good. As you can see, you can spam spread shot just over and over and over with the cooldown potion, which is quite nice. And that explosion is huge. I mean, look, I targeted light there and it hit that guy over there. So yeah, hope you like the look of that. And for PvP, it may be good. I'm not entirely sure because the damage isn't huge. But yeah, you could use it to take out an area, stun them all, and certainly to slow enemies. So anyway, let's move on to the Knight Screws now. Actually, I'd like to mention about the Archer Screwing. I said it does both slow and stun, which does make a big difference for PvP, because the stun will last 2 seconds and the slow will last 5 seconds, which will, continue on. But anyway, it's not really a PvP skill, so it's not going to make a whole lot of difference there. Also, one thing I forgot to mention as well is this: all these new Scurins, they take more experience than we usually get. Than they usually take. Sorry. So normally Scurins they take 172,000. That is the ones which they take 1,050. However, these new ones, so you can see here, look at the level 1 skill there. It takes 1,050 to begin with, 1,050. That means it takes 172,000. However, these new ones, they take 260,000. You can tell because they start by needing 1,580 for the first level. So they're expensive ones. However, they can be quite good. So the light ones here, we've got Cleave, which will do the charges, and then we've got the Rumble skill, which uses the charges to get a bonus. So this one's kind of in between for the charge time. So Wizard, it takes 6 seconds on the cooldown. Archer, it's the 1 second. This one, it's 2 seconds. Now I've actually got an optimal build here with level 99 Cleave, so the cooldown, instead of being 2 seconds, it's 4 seconds. So imagine with whatever I'm doing with this, it's like it's not on a cooldown potion. I would probably recommend having it level 10. However, level 99, if you're high level, can be better. So that's why I've got it. Anyway, for damage, this one, it doesn't stand out again like the other ones. It's kind of just in line with the others. It's got a lot of percent damage, however, very little static damage, which means compared to like Empowered Water Cleave, it's probably a little bit weaker. And then also if you compare it to Wild Swing, actually, they're almost identical for damage. So this doesn't stand out as a skill rune at all for damage. Again, you just use it for the charges, or if you don't have Wild Swing and you want a nature version of this. So yeah, Forest Cleave, quite cool there. Fairly good damage. I've always liked the skill runes on Cleave. They're all really powerful because the skill itself is strong. So Forest Crash is the interesting one. This one, the skill as a whole doesn't do much damage. It just basically hits a huge area and stuns them. It's what it's always been. It's just a support skill, and it hasn't been that interesting. They added Volcano Eruption, which just slaps on a ton of damage. It actually takes away the stun effect, and it hits a very small area, but does tons of damage. So that was the one damage in skill rune. However, all the others, they add like little extra effects that are kind of pointless. And so this new one is a bit more interesting because basically what it does is it makes the radius absolutely enormous. If you thought that the radius of Forest Bomb on Archer was big, this blows it out of proportions. So yeah, basically in terms of the damage on it, it's in line with the other ones that weren't really doing much damage. It's not going to stand up for damage. Considering the cooldown on this skill and everything, it's not really going to do much for you in terms of damage. However, it will stun a big area, and that's really where it's meant to be used. In PvP as well, because Cleave you can use in everything, you would be using it in everything. In PvP you could have this as well. It does a long stun, 2.5 seconds, and the fact that there's no way they could run away from this, it's probably going to be quite good for anyone who tries to escape from you. You can use this just to stun them. So you'd have it as like a backup option. You don't really use it, but then you're using the cleaves which will charge it up, so that if they do try to escape, then you can stun them. Or you can just pull off a long stun whenever you want. So that's why I'd use it in PvP, and PvE it's just got that extra control. So yeah, talking about the skill, the charges, they just increase the radius. The first one does that, the second one does that, the third one increases the radius, also slows them by 50% for 5 seconds, and adds a bit more static damage on. But yeah, it's the radius which is the really cool thing. So the skill itself hits quite a large area. You can see it didn't quite hit those enemies there, so the targets. If I go a bit closer, then it's on to hit them. Now if I put one charge on there, do it again. It's going to do a bigger one. You can see it hit that chicken there. It probably wouldn't have the first time. So a little bit bigger. And then now if we put 2 charges in. Oh, whoops. Kind of screwed up there. Alright, 2 charges in. Now we'll stand here. We'll stand about here. Let's see if it won't hit that chicken there, will it? So, oh, it did. It did just hit that chicken there. So as you can see, very big area from 2 charges. Now I'll put 3 charges in. This is where it goes huge. Like, absolutely enormous. I showed this to some friends of mine. I took a little video to show them, and I was holding my phone up to video the screen when I was doing it. I had to properly pull back my phone off the screen to show them this, because this is absolutely enormous, ridiculously big. It hits a huge area, and actually, I kind of want to say it might have use in farming, but then considering Cleave isn't really a skill for farming, I don't know. I really don't know. Probably you can't quite use it there. But anyway, I'm going to go show this in the event now. Let's just get a little bit of combat going on. So I'm just going to go straight up and charge it to full. So you stand in there. Remember, this is a slightly slower cooldown skill than it could be. But yeah. Well, the enemies aren't really even spread out that much, so I could probably just do it without any charges at all. But yeah, you can keep enemies really stunned up nicely with this skill. Especially when you've got it on a cooldown potion, because it stuns them for 3 seconds. Oh, actually, that's not... you can't sort of chain the stuns. Yeah, see, it's come back in 5 seconds. They're stunned for 3, so they're not completely locked down. But anyway, I think it's quite nice. I don't think it makes the skill completely viable. However, this is definitely a cool option, and having such a big area that it's hitting has got to have some use to it. So yeah, maybe it will be useful in some particular events, and things where you don't want to pull the enemies towards you, because in general, playing with Knight, what you want to do is just pull all the enemies into one place, and then you kill them off really quickly with cleave and stuff. However, if you're a bit weaker, then you can't pull them all there and survive. So maybe stunning them all will be a better option. So it could be really good for that kind of thing. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow in the other skill rune previews, showing off the other skill runes that came out, the primer ones. So yeah, thanks very much for watching.